Hello everyone, this is Nuzhat Shishir. We will be doing our presentation on sustainable development through Mrs. Dalloway. Sustainable development is development that is long lasting and is for generations to come. For this, we need to be mindful about the environment and be inclusive. The United Nations launched the SDG goals in September 2015 after discussing almost 300 goals following the success of the MDG goals. The MDG goals were the Millennium Development Goals focused on the developing countries. They focused on things like eradicating hunger and poverty. However, the SDG goals, which are 17 in total, has many indicators and targets under it and are more applicable globally for both developing and developed countries. Now we shall analyze the SDG goal, gender equality, through Mrs. Dalloway. Though by this time women had the right to vote, we see a great disparity in this novel. Even the title itself is Mrs. Dalloway. At one point in the novel, you actually can see her complaining that she is not even Clarissa anymore, just Mrs. Dalloway. This shows us the loss of identity. The lead character, Mrs. Dalloway, is trivialized as a mere hostess who is obsessed with the parties, and the rebellious Sally Seaton is forced to give in to societal norms and become Lady Rosette, a mother and a wife. We also see Rezia lose her identity taking care of her husband. Furthermore, we also see Peter going after this woman and that, and though he is ridiculed, you must keep in mind if this was done by a woman, this would be scandalous. We see the power disparity as Sally Seaton's complaints of who kissing her forcefully is disregarded in Burton. Furthermore, Lady Burton invites Hugh and Richard to help her in official matter, but Clarissa isn't even invited to the same dinner. Furthermore, we also see the dominance of men over women as Peter wants too much of Clarissa and Richard limits her. We also see Sir William Bradshaw not really taking Rezia's opinions into account and Dr. Holmes physically pushing past her, which shows complete disregards for women's opinion. We live in a different time now and we can hope for progress so that we can attain sustainable development. Now I will pass this presentation to the next group member.
Promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The moment Sir William Bradshaw saw Septimus. When he saw Septimus, he diagnosed his case as grief. Complete physical and nerves breakdown with every symptom of advanced stage. He got from Razia the information that her husband has threatened to kill himself. So he decided that Septimus must go to a delightful mental home in the country. While Clarissa occupies her universe of states, Wolf creates an adjacent universe of aunts, separated from each other by a special and temporal bag of literary tricks that Wolf uses with masterly skill. Internally, Worm Smith is screaming, begging for his death, as he could not commit his wife and unable to express his emotions. To incite, he is a weak, intite of human feelings, unable to commit with his new wife and crying out loudly and painfully that he wants only to die. He never met Clarissa, though he was invited to her party. What they share are their private words of pain that connected to the reader, if not to each other. They both heard the trolling of Big Ben and they link, not solid as in a chain, but metaphorically as in a dream. His death lets her know that her life was very nearly as thrilling as his was. At least it would if she were more perspective. But she is not, and that is the true tragedy of Clarissa. Sometimes one has to die just to give another a chance to live. In the end, that is how we make peace, even though that justice has not been served.
Hello, this is Roshidullah Kausar from English department. Today my topic is affordable and clean energy. I take these lines from Mrs. Dalloway that shows different types of cars, aeroplane and van. All these vehicles use carbon-based fuels through the combustion of carbon-based fuels. Human activity participate in the global carbon cycle that then creates greenhouse gas that is a big threat to human life. All these resources are created in very limited quantities and it takes a very long time for such resources to be created. Such resources are known as limited national resources. Renewable energy solutions are becoming cheaper, more reliable and more efficient every day. Our current reliance on fossil fuels is unsustainable and harmful to the planet, which is why we have to change the way we produce and consume energy. Implementing this new energy solution as fast as possible is essential to counter climate change, one of the biggest threats to our own survival. There are a lot of alternative resources like solar system car, aeroplane, wind-based electricity chargeable car, etc. So all these things that are used in Mrs. Dalloway can be symbol of modern development but cannot be sustained development. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for giving me the floor to present my topic. For my topic, I have chosen SDG 03. SDG 03 ensures good health and well being for all at every stage of life. In the context of Mrs. Dalloway, we get to meet two of the most important characters, Mrs. Dalloway and Septimus. Mrs. Dalloway could be defined as someone who's delusional, someone who cannot move on from her past, but then again, she's also someone who's very thankful to her present. On the other hand, we get to meet Septimus. Septimus suffers from depression and PTSD. Even though Septimus under a doctor's guidance, yet the doctor seemed to deny that Septimus suffers from PTSD. Even though both of the characters never met up front, but they had an empathy and something common within themselves because both of them seemed to suffer on different levels. Looking back at this point, we could say that Target 3.8 support research, development, and universal access to affordable vaccines and medicines could have been better for them. Probably Septimus wouldn't have suicided by then if the doctor didn't seem to deny his illness. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Nabiha and today I'll talk about quality of education. Lack of knowledge. It is evident in the novel that the lack of knowledge about Sherlock among the doctors prevented them from proper diagnosis of the disease. Lack of empathy. As the doctors lacked proper knowledge about the illness, this resulted in them having a lack of empathy for Septimus' situation. Improper treatment. Due to the lack of knowledge about the illness, the doctor did not treat Septimus the right way. The current treatment rather hurt the patient more than healed him. It was ineffective. It increased his sufferings and eventually led him to commit suicide. Not knowing the root of the problem. Lack of quality education did not allow the doctors to identify the root of the illness. Improper interaction by Razia. Razia's lack of understanding of how to interact with Septimus was normal, given that she was not educated enough. Not being understood. This was the main how Septimus was getting wrongly treated. Nobody understood what he was feeling and why he was feeling this way. Not giving importance to feeling the emotion in time. Due to the lack of awareness about mental health issues, Septimus did not allow himself to feel his trauma during the war. Social norms. Without fully feeling his trauma, Septimus got back to his city. Not getting the proper empathy when Septimus communicated his feelings. When Septimus started to communicate his feelings, he was treated in a manner of distinct. That is why quality of education is very important for everyone. Thank you. My next teammate will continue the next presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Modernism Prova. My ID is 1930131106. The topic I'm going to discuss is SDG goal number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure in context of the book Mrs. Dalloway. In Mrs. Dalloway, we have seen the architectural change of the city of London. The scenes will take place right after World War I. So there was dramatic change in the automobile industry. And so it was for the airplanes. Cultural change was also visible as movie industry that was recognized by then. And the more importantly, newspapers was completely took a new shape. Thank you so much. Now I'm passing this to my next team member. She will continue the next topic. Thank you again.
Hello, I am Fatima and I am going to discuss Goal 8, which talks about promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. In our novel Mrs. Dalloway, we see this being tackled in two different ways. Firstly, it is set in a post-World War setting, so that means there was an abundance of jobs in the army for men. It contributed to the country's economic growth and the people could rely on this job and its perks as long as there was a war. This is showcased by the character Septimus Warren Smith, who had been a war veteran. However, this job was not sustainable and nor was it much inclusive. Hence comes my second point about how most jobs during then were neither sustainable nor was it outright inclusive. Natural resources were being depleted at a rate where depletion wasn't much of a concern. Moreover, with all the men away at war, their jobs had to be filled in by women, and this was often fed upon. Unfortunately, a woman working during the modern era was still looked down upon on, and so the stigma around it restricted the women from the upper class and sometimes even the middle class to work and make use of their time. The titular character, Mrs. Dalloway, is the prime example of this facet, since the poor woman had to throw numerous parties to keep herself busy. Therefore, in these subtle different ways, Virginia Woolf manages to address the notions of Goal 8. Thank you.